Dover Beach is a lyric poem by the English poet Matthew Arnold. It was first published in 1867 in the collection New Poems. But surviving notes indicate its composition may have begun as early as 1849. The most likely date is 1851. The title, locale and subject of the poem's descriptive opening lines, is the shore of the English ferry port of Dover, in Kent, facing Calais, in France, at the Strait of Dover, the narrowest part, 21 miles, of the English Channel, where Arnold honeymooned in 1851. Many of the beaches in this part of England are made up of small stones or pebbles rather than sand, and Arnold describes the sea ebbing over the stones as a grating roar. Analysis of the poem. In Stefan Collini's opinion, Dover Beach is a difficult poem to analyze, and some of its passages and metaphors have become so well known that they are hard to see with fresh eyes. Arnold begins with a naturalistic and detailed nightscape of the beach at Dover, in which auditory imagery plays a significant role. Listen. You hear the grating roar. The beach, however, is bare, with only a hint of humanity in a light that gleams and is gone, reflecting the traditional notion that the poem was written during Arnold's honeymoon. One critic notes that the speaker might be talking to his bride. The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full. The moon lies fair upon the straits. On the French coast the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand glimmering and vast out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window. Sweet is the night air. Only, from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land, listen. You hear the grating roar of pebbles which the waves draw back, and fling at their return, up the high strand. Begin, and cease, and then again begin, with tremulous cadence slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Arnold looks at two aspects of this scene: its soundscape, in the first and second stanzas, and the retreating action of the tide, in the third stanza. He hears the sound of the sea as the eternal note of sadness. Sophocles, a 5th century BC Greek playwright who wrote tragedies on fate and the will of the gods, also heard this sound as he stood upon the shore of the Aegean Sea. Critics differ widely on how to interpret this image of the Greek classical age. One sees a difference between Sophocles interpreting the note of sadness humanistically, while Arnold, in the industrial 19th century, hears in this sound the retreat of religion and faith. A more recent critic connects the two as artists: Sophocles the tragedian, Arnold the lyric poet, each attempting to transform this note of sadness into a higher order of experience. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. Having examined the soundscape, Arnold turns to the action of the water wave itself and sees in its retreat a metaphor for the loss of faith in the modern age, once again expressed in an auditory image. But now I only hear its melancholy, long, withdrawing roar. This fourth stanza begins with an image not of sadness, but of joyous fullness, similar in beauty to the image with which the poem opens. The sea of faith was once, too, at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long, withdrawing roar, retreating, to the breath of the night wind, down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. The final stanza begins with an appeal to love, then moves on to the famous ending metaphor, critics have varied in their interpretation of the first two lines. One calls them a perfunctory gesture, swallowed up by the poem's powerfully dark picture, while another sees in them a stand against a world of broken faith. Midway between these is one of Arnold's biographers, who describes being true to one another as a precarious notion in a world that has become a maze of confusion. The metaphor with which the poem ends is most likely an allusion to a passage in Thucydides' account of the Peloponnesian War. He describes an ancient battle that occurred on a similar beach during the Athenian invasion of Sicily. The battle took place at night. The attacking army became disoriented while fighting in the darkness, and many of their soldiers inadvertently killed each other. This final image has also been variously interpreted by the critics. Color calls the darkling plain Arnold's central statement of the human condition. Love. Let us be true to one another. For the world, which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. The poem's discourse shifts literally and symbolically from the present to Sophocles on the Aegean, from medieval Europe back to the present, and the auditory and visual images are dramatic and mimetic and didactic, exploring the dark terror that lies beneath his happiness in love. The speaker resolves to love, and exigencies of history and the nexus between lovers are the poem's real issues. Devoid of love and light, the world is a maze of confusion left by retreating faith.